Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's tutorial I'll be showing you how I made this denim top from an old scrap jean of mine. If this is something you're interested in, you'd want to stick around. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much. I love you guys. If you're new here, thank you for joining as well. Please do not forget to hit on the subscribe button. Alright, let's get started. So as you can see, I already have my basic bodice drafted. It's a half scale basic bodice. This stops at the waist length. You should know how to do this by now. That was why I did not want to bore you with all the process, and I have various videos on the channel where I have explained this step by step. So moving on, we're just going to mark out the nipple to nipple point to draw out our dart leg, and on the waistline as well. I'm also going to shear the 1 inch that I added on both sides of the straight line, which is going to be ½ inch, and I proceed to draw my dart leg. Now I'm going to proceed to mark out the bust dart. I'll be coming down by 2 inches below the bust line, just as you can see, and I'll draw a line to the nipple to nipple point. Now moving on to the back, I'm going to draw the dart leg just like I did for the front, which is dividing my nipple to nipple measurement by 2 and marking it on the lines, drawing a straight line, and also dividing the dart allowance of 1 inch on both sides of the straight line and drawing the dart leg. I'm going to separate the front and back pattern because we're going to be more flexible with the front pattern now. Now I'm going to close up the bust dart, and there's going to be a little excess there, but not to worry, we're going to fill it up. So you can see the tiny excess at that edge. I'm going to use my biro and ruler to fill it up. Now the next thing I'll be doing is the under bust tightening. I'm going to mark ½ inch on both sides of the dart leg, and I'll proceed to use my curve ruler to make a curve over there, and then extend it with my straight ruler to the waistline, just as you'll be seeing me do. So please watch. I'm just blending to avoid any pointy edge over there. Now the next thing I'm going to do is determine how open I want my chest to be. So I'm going to be going up by 3 inches from the bust point, and I'm going to roll out a line there. That is where the over bust tightening is going to take place. Now I'm going to draw a straight line down to the bust point, just as you can see, and I'm going to mark 0.7 inch on both sides of that straight line, which is going to be for the over bust tightening. Now I'm going to use my curve ruler. We don't want a really curvy line, just slightly, alright, to avoid excesses. I'm going to use my marker to highlight the lines that I just drew so you know what we're working with. Now the next thing I'm going to do is create the basket effect you saw initially at the beginning of the video, and to do that I'm going to come down by 2 inches, just as you can see me do, and I will use my curve ruler. You could use your straight ruler if you want it, you know, straight, but I'm going to use my curve ruler to do that, to create the basket effect. So just place your ruler the way you see me place mine. I'm also going to extend the lines of the dart leg. Now the next thing I'm going to do is to mark the width of the strap, and on the shoulder line, just as you can see, I'm going to mark 1.5 inch. So that is how wide the strap is going to be, and I'm going to mark it all the way to the neckline of the top, okay, which is the straight line from which we went up by 3 inches above the bust line. So now I'm just going to fold the darts. You can open up the waist dart so you don't have to roughen your paper the way I just did, don't mind me. And then use my pattern master to draw the kind of neckline that I want. So if you want your straight or a little bit curvy, whatever it is, you can just do whatever you deem fit. And afterwards I will extend the line back to the shoulder line, and there we have the strap. So when you close up the darts, this is what we have. Now I'm just going to proceed to cut out the pattern so I can do the style lines that I want. Don't forget to close up the bust dart with your masking tape or gum before you cut out the side fronts. So I'm just labeling this the center front and the side fronts. So before I draw out the style lines, I'm going to tape this at the top, just as you can see me do where we had the over bust tightening. I'm going to just tape it there to keep it in place and then proceed to draw the style lines. So from the side front, I'm going to go up by 1 inch. Okay, from the side front, I'm going to go up by 1 inch. Then draw a straight line from the 1 inch marked point to the bust line on the center front. Okay, it's going to be a slant line. Remember I said I'm going to draw various style lines, so that's what I'm just doing. So just watch the way I placed my ruler. I said from the 1 inch marked point on the side front to the bust line on the center front. I'm just adding more tape to keep it in place, and then I'll use my marker to highlight the line I just drew so you know what we'll be cutting out. It'll be visible enough. Now I'm going to proceed to cut out on the line that we just drew out. For the style lines, I'm going to be doing it mainly on the center front. So what I'm going to do is mark 1.25 inch from the center front, just as you're seeing me do. And on the hem, which is the blouse length, I'm going to mark 0.5 inch. That automatically gives us a slant line. Okay, and I'll use my straight ruler to connect the points. Next, I'll mark 1.5 inch from the first line that I just drew, and also mark ½ inch at the bottom and connect it. Now I'm going to create the third style line, and for that I'm going to join the side front and the center front together from the underbust downwards, just as you can see. And you can see that I have the center front on top of the side front. Okay, that's because I want to get a slant line. Okay, so from the curve on the center front that gives off the bust points where I've just touched, I'm going to just draw a line from that point downwards, leaving a ½ inch space from the previous line as well. So just watch what I'm doing. I'm going to proceed to label, okay, and then also label the top and the bottom so we don't get confused with an arrow sign. Alright, and afterwards I'll just go ahead to cut out. So here is what we have for the front pattern. You can decide not to have this many style lines, okay, and also the measurements I used to create the style lines are not standard measurements, so you can do whatever you like, okay. I'm just going to keep this aside since we're done with it and move on to the back pattern. Now for the back, I'm going to measure a new neck depth of 7.5 inch from the previous neck depth, so you can see where my tape roll starts from. I'm going to mark the 7.5 inch, and then from the bust line I'm also going to mark 3 inches upwards and make a broken line there. It doesn't really have any use, it's just for reference and how covered lengthwise I want the top to be. Okay, I hope that makes sense. And then I'm trying to achieve a slant line, so I'm going to connect the 3 inches to the 7.5 inch. You can see I have a slant line there. If you want it straight, you could just leave it at that, or do whatever works for you. I'm going to measure the strap width of 1.5 inch now and use my pattern master to draw it out just like we did for the front pattern. Okay, when I drew out the strap for the first, it felt too wide, so I had to go in and try to readjust it. Okay, so I'm going to highlight with my marker the one I'm working with, so you know which is which, and don't get confused by the 2 lines that you see. So the one with the marker is the one I'm working with. So this is what I have here. Now to draw the style lines for the back, please ignore the darts that I drew earlier on the basic bodies. So when you're drafting yours, you don't even need to draw the dart leg, okay. All right, now to proceed, I'm going to mark 2.5 inch at the top length, and at the top of the blouse, which is the neckline, I'm going to mark 3 inches. Okay, and then proceed to draw a line. And then from the armhole, I'm going to go up by 0.75 inch, and then from the 2.5 inch mark on the lower part of the top, which is the blouse length, I'm going to mark 1 inch in and then draw the line, which is going to give a slant line. So just watch what I'm doing. So this is it for the style line I'll be doing at the back. I'm just going to go ahead to label the center back and the side back and also the 3 pieces. And while I was taking the measurements from the center back, which is the 3 inches I took up and the 2.5 inches on the down part, I placed my tape from the 0.5 inch with which we did the tightening on the waistline. Okay, I hope you get what I just said. I'm going to proceed to cut out the pattern now. So this is all the pieces, okay, from the pattern that I just cut out. And for the center back, it's giving off a straight effect and I don't want that, so I'm going to use my sellotape to tape it down and give it a slant line. No measurements for this. You can see the way I just placed my ruler. That's what I'm just going to do, and give it a slant line. I want everything to give off a slant effect. I don't know if that makes sense. Yeah, so that's just what I'm doing. So here is the front and back pattern together. I'm going to proceed to cut on the jean fabric. I already cut out the fabric in different pieces. Here it is. I'll proceed now to cut out the patterns. So as you can see, the fabric is not enough lengthwise for the side front, so I'm going to have to seam rip the hem so I can have more space. So as you can see, I have more space now. I'm going to go ahead to pin the pattern on the fabric and proceed to cut. And while cutting, I'm going to be adding a 1/2 inch sewing allowance all round. So while I was cutting, you could tell I didn't put my fabric on fold. So what I'm going to do is when I want to cut the second piece, I'm going to turn the one I've already cut in the opposite direction so I don't have two of the same right side. So when I turn it the opposite way, I'm going to have both the right and the left side. Okay, so I just wanted to clear that, so when you're doing yours, if in case you do not have enough fabric like me and you have to manage, you know how to do what needs to be done to avoid wastage. So I'm going to proceed now to cut the side back. Okay, taking it piece by piece so I get to manage my fabric. All right. So I'm going to do the same thing to the back piece and proceed to cut all other pieces, and you get to see the final result. So here it is, all patterns cut out on the fabric, and I have 2 pieces of each. I didn't cut a lining because when I checked the fabric, it really wasn't going to give that much longevity. I just wanted to use it to, you know, show you guys how to go about this particular tutorial. So if you have a better fabric, you can go ahead and cut out a lining piece just the way you cut out the fabric. I'm just going to stitch the fabric according to the numbers on the pattern. So you take the first piece and the second piece of the front pattern, you know, pin them together on the right side, and then also the third pattern of the front piece, and then you proceed to the machine and stitch with the 1/2 inch sewing allowance. So that's just what I'm doing. So just watch and follow through the entire process. So I've been able to show you what you're going to have and what you're going to do. So after stitching this that I already pinned, I'll repeat the same process on the other. So here it is, all stitched down. Remember I said if you have enough fabric, the center front, the first piece of the center front, you can cut it on fold. Hence, you don't have to come and do all this joining that I'm going to do eventually. So now that you've seen what we have here, I haven't ironed yet. I will after I join the side fronts, because that's what we're going to be attaching now. So I'm going to pin the side fronts, you know, right sides facing each other on the right part, and then proceed to my machine to stitch down with the stitching allowance, and I'll come back to show you guys what we have. When I stitch that, I'm also going to stitch the center front. Remember, mine wasn't on fold, so I have to close it up. Here is what it looks like after I was done stitching. Now I'm going to proceed to make notches on the bust area so it's more relaxed before I iron. So the back pattern, I'm also going to repeat the same process, which is joining the pieces according to the numbers on the pattern. So I'm going to pin the first and the second pattern of the side back together, and then also the center back, and then proceed to also stitch with the 1/2 inch sewing allowance that you can see. And I'm going to do it for the other piece as well. So here is what the back piece looks like. Trust me, the slant line is beautiful. I love it. Okay, so in order to finish this up, since I don't have a lining piece, I'm going to be doing the rolled hem, and I'm going to show you how to do that. All I'm going to do is fold twice and stitch. Okay, now another thing, if your material is one really nice one that you could splurge on, you can go ahead to do boning casings. Okay, for me the material is not, you can see already, so I'm not going to splurge on it. This is Tinubu's economy. Okay, all right, so all you have to do is stitch the sewing allowances. You can see the way I pointed it very close to the end, enough to have your boning pass through. Okay, and all you have to do is cut the required length and pass in your boning. You do the same for the front piece as well and the back piece, okay, because the boning channel has to pass through. And for the back, you can see how stretchy my fabric is. It's very stretchy, so I'm going to be wearing this in a singlet form, which means the zipper allowance, I'm not putting any zipper. I'm going to stitch down the zipper allowance that I kept, but you could put a zip, or you could even put eyelets. Okay, so I just thought to put that out there. Just because I'm not doing that doesn't mean I won't give you an insight, so you are able to create a beautiful piece. Okay, so moving on, I'm going to do what I said initially, which is the rolled hem on the front and the back, and also I'll stitch down the sides, which will be placing the front piece on the back piece, right sides facing each other, and proceed to stitch the sides with the stitching allowance I kept. So this is it. You can see I stitched the sides and folded the hem of the top. Now I'm going to do the same thing to the neckline, the strap, and the armhole region, all around the upper part of the top. I'm going to do the rolled hem as well, and that's because I'm not using a lining piece. If you're using a lining piece, you just have to place both the main fabric and the lining on top of each other, right sides, and then, you know, stitch the down part, stitch close up the upper part, and do your thing. This is what it looks like after I was done. You can see the neckline, the straps, the armhole, the back, everything folded and looking neat. So if you don't have a lining piece as well, you can also do this. Take your time and make sure it comes out neat and lovely. All right, so for the final touch, all I just have to do is close up the zipper allowance with the 1/2 inch that I kept. Since I said I'm going to be wearing this in a singlet form, because of how stretchy the fabric is, I do not feel the need to attach a zipper or make loops. Okay, and then the strap, I'm also going to put the front and the back right sides facing each other, and also stitch with the 1/2 inch allowance that I kept at the top as well. And that is basically all for the sewing of this top. Please, if you found this video helpful, please do not forget to like, share, leave me a comment in the comment section. If you have a question, engage me. I'll be more than happy to give a reply. Also, do not forget to subscribe. And for all the OGs that watch my videos from the beginning to the end, I have so much love for you guys that you can't even imagine. Thank you so much for engaging with me. Thank you so much for riding with me. And until next time, bye.